for the Goa launch of the renowned journalist and best-selling author, and something that we're very proud of, an illustrious son of Goan soil, Mr. Rajdeep Sardesai's book, 2019, How Modi Won India, published by HarperCollins Publishers, India, and hosted by Goa's first and only lifestyle magazine, Viva Goa. 2019, How Modi Won India is Mr. Sardesai's fourth book. On the 23rd of May 2019, when the results of the general elections were announced, Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the BJP-led NDA coalition were voted back to power for a second term with an overwhelming majority not seen in recent years. I would like to invite the editor and publisher of Viva Goa, Goa's first and only lifestyle magazine, and your host for this evening, Mr. Kedar Dume, to kindly come up on stage to deliver the welcome address.
Good evening everybody, and best wishes for 2020. On behalf of Viva Goa and HarperCollins Publishers India, I am honored to welcome you all for the Goa launch of my dear friend and well-wisher, Padma Shri Rajdeep Sardesai, new book, 2019, How Modi Won India. It's been a privilege to put this special evening together. Rajdeep is an illustrious son of the soil, someone who Goa, especially our media fraternity, looks up to as an inspiring icon. Personally, I have had an excellent rapport with him. Rajdeep is an outstanding journalist bestowed with the Padma Shri, the prestigious Ramnath Goenka Award for Journalism, the International Broadcasters Prize, the Asian TV Award, and the prestigious Prima Bhatia Political Journalism Award, to name a few. What made you choose journalism over your father's career as a successful cricketer, your mother as an educationist, and your own line of study as a lawyer? My second question, how will you rate Mohar Bhai's stint in Delhi as Defence Minister and his role in the first surgical strike, considering that you had an opportunity to see him closely in Delhi?
The renowned Bollywood actress Pooja Bedi, thank you for being here, ma'am. The renowned industrialist and Honorary Consul General of Italy in Goa, Mr. Srinivas Dembo, thank you for making it here, sir. Would you give them all a round of applause, please? We have Professor Nandini Sardesai, the mother of Mr. Rajdeep Sardesai. Please give her a big round of applause. And the author himself, the renowned journalist, Padma Shri, Mr. Rajdeep Sardesai. Please give him a big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Goa launch of the book, 2019, How Modi Won India, written by Mr. Rajdeep Sardesai.
Yeah, because I'm used to lecturing and my lectures are never less than 150 minutes. So I take 3 lectures in a row. Even now, I retired like 12 or maybe 15 years ago, but I still go as a visiting faculty to different colleges in Mumbai. So lecturing and teaching is my passion. I have a home here and I'm always happy to be here, and I suddenly realized I know so many people and I tried to invite as many as I could. So thank you so much, all of you, for being there for me. And a lot of my relations are here, my husband's family is here. It's really a beautiful occasion, and I'm proud to and happy to be Rajdeep's mother. Thank you very much.
You know, I come from a background of very, very outspoken people. Be it my grandparents who were freedom fighters, my grandmother Frida Bedi, who was an English lady and fought the freedom struggle, became a Buddhist nun, to my mother, my father. We've been an incredibly outspoken family. And I can't tell you how much it thrills me when you're a part of something where people speak up. And it's all about information, it's all about exclamations, it's all about making yourself heard. There's debates, there's arguments, and then there's discussions. And I think all of them are equally important. In today's political climate, some people may agree with what's happening, some people may disagree with what's happening. Everybody is entitled to an opinion. Now, thank you for introducing me as a Bollywood actress. It's amazing. 30 years post having quit Bollywood and having multiple achievements of every other kind, I still get referred to as a Bollywood actress.
Respected mother of Rajdeep, Nandini, his family members and my dear friends. At the outset, let me congratulate Rajdeep for this wonderful book. Rajdeep, I haven't done an in-depth reading like you've done an in-depth analysis. But I liked one punchline from there, and that is Timo. From Tina, you said Timo, and that is Modi only. But I think, the most important thing that you've done, and which also applies to our businesses today, is what is occupying the minds of the youngsters. We have such a large population. The mind space that you talked about is what are the issues that are relevant today. And I think what the Honorable Prime Minister did was exactly focus on those. And over the years to come, I think this is going to be extremely important not only to politics, but as I said to every reader, the in-depth analysis that you've done, because I think the world is changing very fast. And what issues were relevant about a decade back or 2 decades back no longer hold relevance. And I always tell my businesses, my people, that you need to change with the tide because there's less patience today. I'm glad you did this in-depth analysis, but now you don't see beyond 2 lines of the Twitter. So the patience quotient has gone down of the younger generation. Their security, what they believed in security earlier, like you wanted a house, you wanted a car, today nobody dreams of all these things. So I think politics also to a large extent, in your analysis is showing that all that is changing. And once again, congratulations to you and wish you all the best and thank you for contributing so regularly to the Navin Times, which is promoted by our group. Thank you.
He is known world over for his illustrious writing, for his news anchoring, for his latest dwelling into news quiz also. And news quiz, that is quizzing. So you're a quiz master, you're a news broadcaster, you're a debater, you're an anchor, you're an author, I don't know, and so many and so forth. Difficult to maintain such pace with you. Tell me something about the journey of 2019 book, how did it come about? What is the background of it? And who inspired you? Where did you get the time to write? And what is the agenda behind it?
Thank you. Thank you first of all. Thank you first of all for having me here in Goa. It's lovely to get away from the polluted air and the polluted politics of Goa. Of Delhi. Freudian slip. Given all that happens in Goa, you can talk about pollution, I guess, on both sides. But look, it's wonderful to be away from Delhi. It's very special for me to be here in Goa. I always say, among the things that I'm most proud of is my father remains the only Goa-born cricketer to play for India. I hope many more will, but it's an incredible journey that he did way back when he had no facilities, no mentor, no godfather. And I was particularly proud the other day to see what Vivek Menezes and Solomon Souza have done, a mural of his here in Panjim. If you can, do see. He's the genuine Goan. I am an NRG, a non-resident Goan. He was the son of the soil. So it is special to be here. Thank you very much, Kedar, for organizing this, to Srinivas, Pooja, and all of you for having come here. So let me say it is very special to be here. I was actually inspired to write this by my wife. Sagrika is the real writer, and she pushed me to write a book. First in 2014, which was an election book which I thought needed to be written, because that was an election which was, I think, marked a paradigm shift in India. To see the Congress party being defeated in the manner that it was in the rise of the BJP. Well, before that, let me also say my mother is very special to me. So in case she feels that I'm only focused on my dad, I think a lot of what I've learned as a journalist must come from my mother's energy. I get a lot of the energy from her. So the ability to get up early in the morning and write is something which requires a huge amount of discipline. But my wife's told me that I must write these books because I think elections is something that I'm deeply passionate about. I was passionate about, as a teenager, 2 things. Playing cricket like Sunil Gavaskar and watching elections. As a young kid, watching elections meant seeing it on Doordarshan where you had Chaya Geet which would go on in between the election results, and the election results would go on for 3-4 days. The other thing was, so cricket, to answer Kedar's earlier question, was something which I realized little later required talent, and I didn't have the talent. You can be a politician's son can become a politician, a doctor's son possibly could become a doctor. You can certainly follow your father's profession except in cricket, which requires genuine talent, except in sport. Sport requires talent, and about 21 I realized I didn't have the talent, so I needed to do something else in life. And if you can't do anything else in life, there's always journalism. So therefore, that's where the journalism journey began. The election part of it, 1977 was India's historic election, but there's very little written about it. So if I want to know today, all these years later, how was the mighty Indira Gandhi defeated, I have to turn to one book of Janardhan Thakur, All the Prime Ministers Men, but not much else. Every US election leads to about 30, 40 books being written on that one election. So if I want to know about Barack Obama, I can get 50 books on him. There are a lot of books now being written on Narendra Modi, I know. But most of them are either cheerleading, who think that he's an avatar of Vishnu, which he's clearly not, or they demonize him as Gabbar Singh, almost a Gabbar Singh equivalent. I think we need to break out of the demonization and the cheerleading and do an objective assessment of what explains this decade since we've reached 2020, this decade which has seen this massive transition from a Congress-ruled India to a BJP-ruled India. If you look at India 2010 and spoke to any political analyst, they said BJP is finished. The BJP is not going to come back to power ever again. It's decimated. 2020, we're saying the same thing about the Congress. Which is why I don't even want to predict what 2030 will bring. But today I think it's important to analyze what happened in the last 10 years for the Congress to decline so sharply, for the BJP to rise, and the BJP to rise in the form of a person who really was a pracharak, who's become a prime minister and a charismatic figure. I mean, if you told me 25 years ago Narendra Modi is going to be this charismatic figure who's going to win 2 successive majorities, I would have laughed at you. Because Mr. Modi was the backroom boy. Who knew that a backroom boy would suddenly emerge as this person who's able to communicate so effectively? I mean, I keep saying, what they don't teach you at Harvard Business School about marketing, Mr. Modi will teach you. If Kedar wants to organize an event 5 years from now and Modi is not the Prime Minister, please hire him as the marketing manager of Viva Goa. He is an incredibly talented event manager and an incredibly talented person in communicating with audiences. He knows exactly what his or her audience wants at a particular time. And that, to my mind, is something which needs to be understood and how India has changed. You see, it's not just Modi. This country has changed for the worse and the better. I think we do place a greater premium now on accountability. Leaders like Mr. Modi have done what Virat Kohli has done to cricket. He's made elections more competitive. You can't now fight elections coming 1 or 2 months before the election. Mr. Modi and Amit Shah have changed the rules of the game. Like Kohli has made it clear, you have to be super fit to play for India. Now you have to be super fit to defeat Modi. You can't say I'm retiring from politics, I'll come back after 6 months, I'll take a sabbatical. No way. You can't do 24/7, 365 days politics to defeat someone like that. So I think he's changed it, but along with that, he's also made the means less important. Only thing that matters is the end. Chunav jeetna hai. Then Sam, Dam, Dand, Bhed. Kuch bhi karna hai, chunav jeetna. You are the great polarizer and the supreme leader. Half this audience will think he's the supreme leader. There is no one like Modi. The other half will see him as the great polarizer who lives on division. And both realities are true. He is the supreme leader, but he's also a polarizer. He's also someone, and that's why I think the book is important to understand the context from the years which they came up in Gujarat, Modi and Shah. They rose from municipal elections. weaning away independents, taking away defectors from parties, breaking parties, playing Hindutva politics, playing Hindu against Muslim. That's where they come from. Nothing should surprise you. There is a story that I have in the book which I think reflects who they are. And this is more about Shah than Modi. Mr. Shah, 2 months after the Gujarat riots, was only a MLA. And a journalist friend of mine, Rajiv Shah, who used to live in Ahmedabad, goes to Mr. Shah and says, "Sir, the riots have not finished in my area. There are still some small instances of violence taking place." So Amit Shah said, "What do you want me to do?" He says, "Sir, you're the MLA from Sarkhet. This is where the violence is taking place." But he says, "Why are you interested?" He said, "Nahi sir, mera wahan ghar hai." Amit Shah asked him directly, "Aapka ghar hai kis taraf? Hindu area mein ya Muslim area mein?" So he says, "Sir, mera to ghar wahan sab Hindu families hai. To aapke area mein kuch nahi hoga. Jitna bhi violence hona hai, wahan hoga." This is where they come from. So this is the darker side. On the other side, you cannot disagree with the fact that Amit Shah and Narendra Modi together have built this machine where you have thousands of WhatsApp groups, where you have out of 10 lakh booths, 9.5 lakh booth committees with 20 to 25 BJP workers completely committed to the task of spreading the message. Imagine you go to Tripura with 2 seats, go fight an election there and eventually win it. Now that requires a certain audacity of ambition, that I will not even give up Tripura. I will break the Congress party in Arunachal Pradesh. Now you could argue that, therefore politics has become almost an immoral activity where the ends don't matter. But along with that, you've got to accept that he's made it much more competitive. Both, and I call them Modi Shah now. I don't think you should separate them. There's a hyphen, it's Modi Shah. It's a Gujarat, as I call them, Gujarat Jodi number 1. Again, if you had ever asked me 10 years ago that 2 Gujaratis would rule India like this, the last time they did was Gandhi and Patel, and that's more than 70 years ago. But to see the hunger at one level to just acquire power at all costs and almost reframe India in their vision, it might be scary to some, but for others it's just what they want. So I think, it's in a way a story that needs to be told. I think India needs to understand where we are at the moment and the kind of leaders that we are throwing up in our politics.
So can you explain to all of us here in this hall, what is that all about and how did Modi manage that, Modi machine?
See, I only use that because Modi loves acronyms. Everything is in acronyms. Startup India, Stand Up India. He's looking constantly for Jam Trinity, Jan Dhan, Aadhaar Mobile, things which will strike a chord. He's very good at acronyms. So I thought if he's doing acronyms, so will I. So there are 13 M's, which of course there is Modi, there's the media, of which I'm a part, thoroughly compromised in my view and totally hollowed out. Money of an unimaginable quantity. People keep telling me demonetization meant the end of the cash economy. Just look at the staggering amounts of cash that are spent in elections, including in Goa. Per capita, Goa must have a record for the amount of cash that you all spend on elections. And it's a crying shame, according to me, the amount of money that is put into elections in states like Goa. It could be put into far more useful purposes. And the fourth is the machine. The BJP is a machine and it is a relentless machine. But the other ends I think are interesting. Mobile. Look at mobile data today. As a result of mobile data charges coming down by more than 50%, lowest in the world, every message can be sent instantaneously in real time to millions of people across. And it's a powerful weapon now, the mobile. Then you have the millennials. It's one of the interesting phenomena, one of the interesting statistics that I found in the book. Modi gets higher support among younger Indians than older Indians. And Rahul Gandhi, his primary contender, was 20 years younger than him. What explains Modi's sort of connect with younger India? This sort of younger India which wants a Superman-like figure, which is completely disconnected at times from reality and is looking for some magician who's going to turn around India. There is also, of course, muscular nationalism. this belief that Modi symbolizes a certain pride in the idea of India. So there is Masood Azhar, who in a way came to Mr. Modi at the right place at the right time. The Pulwama attack changed the election forever. Once Pulwama happened and Balakot happened, Mr. Modi was then seen as a symbol. Then you could not talk about agrarian distress. Then you couldn't talk about the economy, because everything became about Pakistan ko sabak sikhana hai. I mean, I keep talking about, I meet this young man in the middle of Uttar Pradesh. He's jobless, he has no hope. I said, kisko vote doge? Nahi, Modi ko denge. I said, kyon doge? Nahi, Pakistan ko sabak sikhaya. That changed the entire election narrative completely. Then there is, of course, the middle class, many of whom may be in this room. The fact is, the Indian middle class is the most fickle, but is also the most aspirational middle class the world has ever seen. So we are looking for someone who's going to, in a sense, talk about a new India, about an aspirational India. Rahul Gandhi speaks, whether you like it or not, about an older India. He goes to Uttar Pradesh and says, "Arey, tum log to garib ho, tum kahan migrate kar rahe ho Mumbai?" Modi says just the opposite. He's a dream seller. He's shown the he's given the Indian middle class a dream, and the Indian middle class has bought into it. And let's be honest, the other end linked to that is majoritarianism. This election, in a sense, has brought out, especially in North India, but to some extent in Western India, a sense of the Hindu majority asserting itself. In every segment, including tribals and Dalits, the Hindu tribal, the Hindu Dalit has given Mr. Modi a much larger majority than he gave in 2014. In a sense, there is a Hindu voter assertion, the feeling that psychologically, "Arey, 70 saal se baat ho gaya." You ask them deep down inside, and like nobody is clear what has gone wrong. But somewhere you believe that the Muslim in some way is responsible for your situation. And we are seeing it playing out now in the Citizenship Amendment Act. I don't think either the protesters have read it, or the pro-CA or anti-CA have read the act. But the act is a dog whistle. You mention every community in the act except Muslims. You want to send out a message. This is messaging. I may not have a problem with some of the elements of the act, but what was the necessity to name every community except the Muslim? Because you want to send out a message to your constituency who gets WhatsApp messages where you will not show any peaceful. Every BJP group never will be shown a peaceful protest. You will be shown images of people in skull caps who are throwing stones, setting buses on fire, and thereby demonize every Muslim in the eyes of Hindus and say, "Humko Hindu ke neta hai." It's a dangerous politics. You play with fire. But it's a very successful politics. And Mr. Modi has been doing it for years. The W, of course, were to welfarism, where I think Mr. Modi got it right. He understood that people at the bottom of the pyramid need basic facilities. And using technology, he's done a remarkable job with Ujjwala Yojana. He's done a decent job with Mudra. At least you get a sense that he is connecting to those on the bottom of the pyramid. 22 crore beneficiaries of government programs claims the BJP. Let us assume that it is only half that number. It is only 11 crore people who got Ujjwala or got a Jan Dhan Yojana. The BJP got 5 crore more votes in 2019 compared to 2014. Who is to say that 5 crore didn't come from these beneficiaries? And the BJP gave every beneficiary's details to the government, gave it to the party gave it to a private player. They got all the details of who are the beneficiaries, and this private party was asked to set up call centers to connect over 1 year each of those beneficiaries and say, "Dekhiye, aapko ye mila, Modi ji ne diya hai." I don't think in the history of Indian elections has anyone done this level of micro messaging. That's the positive side, some would say. The negative is, my data is now freely available to a political party, which will give it to a private player, and Sarkar and Sangathan are one. So I think, you see, with everything that Mr. Modi does in a way, you could interpret it positively, you could take the negatives of it. Now, if you are a marketing person, you say, "Wow, I also want to do this micro level marketing." As as a person who looks at government, I am troubled that the fact is that data is being so freely shared with private parties, simply to win an election. So, you know, these M's, these W's, one W is WhatsApp. This WhatsApp university that has come in this country. Young people come to me and tell me that, "Arey, हमने तो 300 पाकिस्तानियों को मारा in Balakot." I said, "When did you find out?" "Sir, WhatsApp." Information in this country no longer comes through discussion, through serious dialogue. It comes on WhatsApp or Twitter. And these WhatsApp universities are enablers for fake news to be sent out in real time. 300 people, and then the picture had, you know, it showed Modi as Bahubali. There was a video. Modi dressed up as Bahubali, 300 Pakistanis dead. And देखिए, Modi ji ने 300 लोगों को मार दिया. Now, the fact is we don't know how many people at all, if anyone died in Balakot. I mean, a Pakistani journalist friend of mine says, "Sir, मैं आपको 100% कह सकता हूँ, एक भी आदमी नहीं मरा." I'm not saying Balakot was not necessary or that Mr. Modi, I mean, to be fair to him, took a huge risk. Had Balakot gone wrong and God forbid some Indian Air Force pilot shot down, who knows how the election would have gone. So he took a risk, and he is a consummate risk taker. I mean, that is the appetite for, it's the Gujarati businessman appetite. And he's a political entrepreneur almost. Particularly Shah, even more than Modi. I have always believed Modi wants the Nobel Prize. Shah wants to win the next election. And do whatever it takes to win. It's very different in a way, but when they come together, they serve a common purpose. So I think these 13 W's, 2 M's and whatever else, I think they need to be analyzed at the end of the day in the fact that you have someone who has changed the rules of the game. I don't think Indian elections will ever be fought now in the way that it's not a level playing field. You have invisibilized your opposition like never before. Maybe Indira Gandhi did the same, but I think India was a less. I don't think she had the technology available. I'm sure she would have done all this. If there is one person whose playbook Modi has borrowed, it is Indira Gandhi. Modi is no Vajpayee Bhakt. He's an Indira Gandhi Bhakt. That's his role model. कुछ भी करना है, चुनाव जीतना है. Finish the opposition, decimate them. And Shah is his sort of executioner. Everyone needs an executioner to do. It's a good cop, bad cop. So it was very interesting that when the Citizenship Amendment Act debate took place in Parliament, Mr. Modi was not there. He got Amit Shah to do it. Amit Shah is now the face of Article 370. So Modi likes to, I think, Modi wants somewhere deep down inside, wants the Nobel Prize.
Is it an analogy between what Atal and Advani, the hardliner was Advani?
In a way, yes. I think in a way the Advani, in a way. But it was a gentler time. Advani and Atalji came from a more gentler Hindutva tradition. Modi comes from a very different Hindutva tradition. Modi now says, of course, that is great. He's inspired by Vivekananda. You read his interviews in the early 90s, he was inspired by Golwalkar. Now he has realized that it is far better to convince an audience to be inspired by Vivekananda, by Netaji, by Sardar Patel. These are all recent inventions. Look at Modi's interviews 25 years ago. Most of his inspiration were RSS ideologues. But he will change. That's why never underestimate him. He will course correct. You called him a suit boot ka neta because he was wearing a 10 lakh worth suit with his own name. Within 2 years he had done demonetization and transformed himself into Garibon ka neta.